If you rock with me heavy and keep up with my videos, you'll know that I was a Disney cast member once upon a time and quit last July. July 10th to be specific. It is July 10th today. Well, the day this video is live, not the day I'm actually recording, which makes it exactly a year since I quit Disney. Some of you may be wondering what I'm up to now or how I got the gig in the first place, and if I'll ever go back or why I quit. A few of those questions have been answered in my very first vlog style I quit my job video, so do check it out first before continuing with this video/podcast. If you've watched that one already, you know that I promised a second proper video regarding this, which should have been out soon after the first one, but you know. So if you want to hear more about my Disney experience, keep on watching or listening if you're listening to this on podcast. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel/podcast. I hope you all are doing well as can be during these very interesting times. My only announcement before I jump into the video is that my Patreon will be going live. I guess it's way too ambitious. I'm gonna say January 2023. Patreon will be live in January 2023, and I'm only announcing it to hold myself accountable. So if you're interested in seeing or hearing more from me off this youtube.com and hearing more spicy content that I can't post on here because YouTube is low-key the CIA, join me on Patreon. Alright, let's do disclaimers before I proceed with the video. This isn't going to be a Disney glorification or a Disney hate train, so if you clicked on this video for that, you can go right ahead and click off this video, respectfully. I say this because people feel strongly about lots of things these days, myself included, and Disney happens to be one of the many things people feel strongly about, good and bad. There are the Disney stans who know every lyric of every Disney movie song ever made. And there are those who can't stand Disney and view Disney as the greedy octopus. And some of those people are Disney cast members, and that's some real tea. And though there might be some merit to that argument, the one about Disney being a greedy octopus, that is not the focus of this video. As previously mentioned in my reaction to the Oscar slap, which if you haven't seen that video/podcast card, I am a Libra, the scales, balance, so I like multiple perspectives. Everything isn't black and white, and I don't like herd mentality. Two things can be true at the same time. I say all this to say, the longer I am on this platform, meaning YouTube, the less afraid I am of blocking people. And it's also the reason I have filters on my comment section, because we all know at this point that there is a fine line between constructive criticism and just outright disrespect, bullying, and hate, and I don't want that kind of energy coming here and messing up what I'm trying to do. This isn't a drama channel/podcast. It's a channel of mindfulness and nuance, hence the channel name Interested, Informed, Inspired if you are watching this on YouTube. Alright, disclaimers over for now. Now on to my video. I miss Disney. I cannot tell a lie. I miss Disney a lot. Well, more so some of my former co-workers and the place, not so much the job itself, which I'll get to in a bit. Disney has been part of my life for a decade. I was a cast member for that long if we include the Disney College program, which is how I started out with Disney, which again, I'll get into later. So much like a breakup, me no longer being a cast member will take some time to get over. That being said, Disney isn't without its flaws, and I don't agree with everything they do, but there's a lot Disney does well, some of which is motivated by money, because I mean, it's a business, but still, I gotta give them credit. For what, you may ask? Marketing and advertising, entertainment, guest service? I heard a guest once say that Disney is an expert at separating you from your money, and they ain't lying. That's how good their advertising is. Selling dreams quite literally and getting you to buy it. It's the reason post-Disney depression is a thing. Being at Disney is a dream for many people, and we typically dream while asleep. So it makes sense that once you exit this Disney bubble after a Disney vacation or working for Disney, coming back to the real world can be jarring, and thus the depression ensues, and you find yourself planning your next trip there. Genius, I say. That's how they get you to keep coming back to spend more money. Walt Disney World is the happiest place on earth where dreams come true. That's the tagline or catchphrase, motto, whatever you want to call it. Their attention to detail is unmatched. Once you work for Disney or visit as a guest, you will notice the difference, and sadly, you won't get that treatment anywhere else. That's the Disney magic. Disney difference. Unless of course you visited during a particularly busy season and the cast member you dealt with was burnt out from previous interactions with unpleasant guests and overworking. You may argue it has nothing to do with you as a guest, but dealing with rude people all day long will take its toll. People in customer service get me. Also, I promise you no one is paying me to say all these good things about Disney. Shit, I wish Disney would sponsor me. They probably won't though, cause I just said shit in the same sentence with Disney. Anyway, why would I leave then if I liked it so much, and why can't I just go back if I miss it so much? This is where I do yet another disclaimer before going any further. I'm going to share my personal experience without revealing insider info. Now, you may say some of that info is probably out there on some blogs. That's great. You won't hear it from me though, because although I am no longer a cast member, I never want to burn my bridges. You never know if I may want to go back and work for them. And if I do, it won't be in the same role or location, I'll tell you that. I'd love for it to be in a creative capacity. Writing, shooting commercials for them, let's put that in the universe. I already write and film my own videos for YouTube, and I can certainly do the same for Disney if they let me. Chapek, if you're watching, I want to film commercials for Disney. Yes, because Disney CEOs randomly watch my videos. Wouldn't that be something? So I've answered the second question. I'd go back only in a creative capacity where my talents can be put to use. Now, why did I leave? The same reason everyone was leaving their job, hence the great resignation, this pandemic, and the pay wasn't that good. Yeah, I had to say it. But this isn't news. Everyone, or most people I should say, in Central Florida know that Disney doesn't pay well. Well, at least for parks and resort cast members. The higher up you are in management, of course, the more money you make with bonuses. But entry level, honey. Struggle. It's actually a common thread among many a video I've watched why former cast members quit, among other things like perhaps a lack of communication in their specific department or being unable to perform the role they were placed in. Now, of course, Disney cast members enjoy a plethora of other benefits, such as free admissions to those expensive-ass parks. I could go to any park of my choice on my day off, but I rarely did that after a while. The crowd and the heat did it for me. The only downside to this free park tickets perk was fake friends. People want to be friends with you for the sole purpose of you getting them into the parks for free. No, ma'am. Those tickets are for me, my immediate family, and actual friends. I'm not your meal ticket into the parks. You want free admissions to the parks? You better go up to casting and apply to work there too. In addition to free park admissions, there's a place where cast members could drop off dirty uniforms, which are called costumes, and pick up clean ones. It's called costuming. Every park and resort has one because Disney is known for their themes, and so every location and role has costumes related to specific themes. Tomorrowland costumes at the Magic Kingdom, for instance, look very futuristic. Cast members at Caribbean beach resorts wear beachy type costumes, i.e. light fabric and bright colors with pina coladas on them as an example. So, if I were to stain my pants or get drenched in a thunderstorm in the summer, as has been the case before, no need to walk around soaked all day long. I could just stop by costuming for my specific location if it is open and swap my wet, dirty costume for a clean, dry one. There is literally no reason for anyone to have wrinkled, dirty work clothes, as they are provided. Name another company that does that. I'll wait. The only thing costuming cannot help with are wet socks and shoes. That one, you're on your own. And as of late 2019, early 2020, Disney started paying for its cast members to further their education through the Disney Aspire program. Google it. So if I wanted to get my master's while there, I could have. But I had already gotten my master's before moving to Florida and working for Disney. There are many more benefits which I don't have time for in this video and not sure about sharing, but the pay isn't one of them. But I get it. It's a business, they have to make a profit and have over 50,000 employees on the payroll. Sidebar, but not really, it's the reason I have stopped getting too emotionally invested at work. Work is business after all, and you can't take business personally. I just do my part and then clock out. It's really not worth it to internalize work-related things, especially not for any minimum wage paying job. I will say this though, Disney does pay higher than most places in Central Florida. In other words, if you live in Central Florida and you don't work for Disney or Universal, you better be a doctor, lawyer, nurse, Uber or Lyft driver, work at a bank, or run an online business. Otherwise, you're not really making money. Real talk. How do I know this? For one, I lived in Central Florida for almost a decade. I'm basically a Floridian. Secondly, some cast members I know had left Disney or gotten a second job in hopes that they will like it better than Disney and then quit Disney, and unless they left the state of Florida altogether, they've usually come right back to Disney because the pay or working conditions at their new job couldn't touch Disney's. Also, when I was trying to exit Disney last year, the jobs I was applying to through Indeed and Glassdoor in Central Florida were offering lower than what I was getting at Disney. Hence why I'm back here in Pennsylvania without getting into too much details about other things that contributed to me having to come home. I would encourage you to read this article of a former cast member. I found it around the time I was planning on quitting Disney and it made me cry. That was my story she was telling. So what am I doing now? How's it going with me? I'll answer those questions and get into how I got started with Disney in case you're interested in working at Walt Disney World or just interested in my story. I currently work at Whole Foods Market, cream of the crop when it comes to grocery stores in my opinion. Some might say it's overpriced and overhyped and that they slap their green USDA certified organic sign on products that aren't really organic. And there may be some merit to that argument, but experience is everything to me when grocery shopping. I may not have ever set foot in Whole Foods Market prior to working there, but I believe Publix in Florida provided a similar experience and I shopped a lot at Publix. Also, I had never gone to a Whole Foods Market simply because it was and still is out of the way, and I didn't want to drive 30 to 40 minutes out to get expensive groceries when there was a Publix 10 minutes from me. So, as you well know if you've watched my previous I Quit My Job video, I did not have a job lined up before quitting Disney. That would have been the ideal situation, but honestly, it was probably better that it happened that way. So my last day at Disney was July 10th. Didn't leave the state of Florida until the 20th because I was waiting for my brother to fly down so we could drive up together. He had to request time off work and the 20th was the best they could do for him. So I got home to Philly on the 21st, rested for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then began the job application process. I needed something immediately because bills don't stop just because you're out of a job, and we all know grocery stores were one of the few places open and hiring throughout the lockdown and the pandemic because groceries are essential. So I knew I could get a job at a grocery store real quick and start paying off some credit cards, but just not any grocery store. It had to be either Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or Aldi. I applied to all three. Whole Foods was the first to call me back, interview me, and hire me, and so I just called Trader Joe's and canceled my interview with them. Whole Foods was my first choice though, if I'm keeping it a buck. When I walked into that place that day for the interview, I was like, oh shit, this place is nice. I hope I get this job. By the way, it helped that I had Disney on my resume and I had some connections at Whole Foods. I have found that because Disney is one of the biggest employers, if not the biggest employer in the Central Florida area for hospitality, it's not impressive to say you work for Disney while in Florida. But the moment you set foot out of Florida to a different state with Disney on your resume, it does wonders. Real quick funny story about Trader Joe's. I've told the story in my July reset routine video card, but I'll tell it again. So, while in Florida, when I was trying to exit Disney, I had applied to a Trader Joe's in Atlanta, and since they wouldn't do a virtual interview, I had to drive all the way to Atlanta from Florida for this interview, only for them to tell me that they liked me, but there were 2 more interviews after the initial one. Bruh, for what? It's a grocery store. I'm gonna stock shelves and ring people up at the register for, $15 an hour. What am I interviewing 3 times for? When I told my mom, she goes, are you going to work in the presidency or going to space? And that's real talk. So that was canceled because I wasn't driving back to Atlanta a second and a third time. You better be paying me at least $30 an hour for me to drive 7 hours twice. Also, I have family in Atlanta for context, so I had a place to stay when I drove up. Also, I was considering moving to Atlanta, which is why I applied there in the first place, in case you're wondering. Basically avoiding coming back to Philly if I'm being honest, but I needed to come back. I may make a separate video addressing why it was necessary for me to come back to Philly even though I was fighting it. So anyway, I got hired at Whole Foods Market, and it's been almost a year now at the time of recording this video / podcast, which is crazy to me. I quite like it. I've managed to stay out of workplace drama and liking and dating people at work because that has had disastrous consequences for me previously. Dating and or liking people at work, that is. It's best not to mix business with pleasure if you can help it. But again, do whatever you want. I'm not preaching to anybody. I will make a separate video about the consequences of dating and or liking coworkers, which will go up on Patreon behind a paywall because everything doesn't belong on YouTube for the public. So if you want more exclusive and spicy content, join my Patreon, which will be going live in January 2023. The title of that video, by the way, that's gonna go up on Patreon will be Dusties Come in Every Shade. Has that piqued your interest or nah? So back to Whole Foods Market. I work in the specialty department. We handle commodity and imported bougie cheeses, wine, and specialty chocolates. So if you're trying to make a bougie cheese board, I'm your girl. I actually made one for Christmas using cheeses from my department. The job is a slower pace than what I did in Disney, but as I mentioned in my July reset, I'm looking for a higher paying job, even though I like what I'm currently doing. This brings me to how I got the gig in Disney in the first place. Let me take you back to 2009, the year I graduated college, the year we lost the king of pop, the year after the big crash. So there were barely any jobs out there for us recent grads unless you knew someone who knew someone. It's funny because now there are oodles and oodles of jobs but no labor. How the tables have turned. So back to 2009. I had partaken in the graduation ceremony on May 1st, 2009. So I had walked but still had one more class to take in order to obtain my degree. So I enrolled at Temple University here in Philly that fall of 2009, for that one class, which was in organic chemistry, and was also working at my high school / college job, McDonald's, when I decided to give Disney another chance. You see, while in college, someone who had participated in the Disney College program, which is a paid internship, has sent a mass email out to mainly minority students with a link to the application for the Disney College program, which I'll heretofore be referring to as DCP. For context, this student was a minority student as well as a student ambassador for Disney, and my college was a PWI, predominantly white institution, like Haven University of Pennsylvania. So I had applied then but didn't complete the application process. So once out of college and taking that one class at Temple University and working at McDonald's and not knowing what was next, once I completed the course and got my degree, I figured out to give the DCP another shot, because wouldn't it be nice to spend some time in Florida while figuring out my next move? So I applied, got through my web-based interview, which, might I add, is a definite process of elimination. Then I scheduled my phone interview, had my interview, and 3 weeks later got an email saying I had gotten accepted and I needed to respond to either accept or decline the offer, which I did immediately, accepted. And a week or two later, I got an official letter in the mail along with what to expect once I landed at Orlando International Airport and how to get to the housing place, for which I had to secure my spot by paying somewhere between $200 and $300. I can't remember the exact amount, and that would cover my first week or two of rent before I started working and getting paid, as they took rent out of the paychecks weekly because we got paid weekly. The $200 to $300, I believe, also paid for the welcome pizza party, I believe, and other events they organized for us DCP participants, usually involving pizza or like public subs or something, and soda, and the Cupid Shuffle. Always the Cupid Shuffle. Good times. So the letter was basically a welcome packet of sort, not quite an onboarding packet. I would get that once in Florida after passing the background check and going through traditions, which is the history of Walt Disney / orientation. Gotta know the culture of the company. And if you weren't in Disney look, meaning if you didn't adhere to the dress code, i.e. if your hair was dyed blue or green or any unnatural color, if you had visible tattoos or wore jeans or flip-flops, you got sent home to change or cover your tattoos or dye your hair back black or a natural color or whatever, further delaying the process for you. Now, the dress code has since changed and cast members are allowed more freedom of self-expression, which I love, so kudos to Disney for that, though others have criticized Disney for trying to be woke with those changes. So I got all this info in October 2009 and then quit McDonald's right before Christmas, and then got to Florida in mid-January of 2010 for the Spring Advantage program, which lasted until August. And my role was housekeeping at Disney's Pop Century Resort, which is one of the value resorts. Value meaning affordable or cheap. Housekeeping is not easy, y'all. I have stories for days. I had to clean 18 rooms a day, and don't let half of them be checkouts. Tip your housekeeper, please. They work hard. So my program ended in August of 2010. I went to grad school in Chicago right after, and that pretty much sealed the deal of me considering moving to Florida. That Chicago winter was no joke. I remember I had a dream of the Magic Kingdom, all bright and sunny, and then I woke up to snow and slush out my window. That was the winter it snowed about 2 feet and classes were canceled for 2 to 3 days. I mean, I loved the snow days because I didn't have to leave my apartment, but bruh, I was thinking, can't be me long term in this city. I was back in Florida that summer of 2011 for the summer alumni program, which only people who had done the DCP previously could apply to. It was from May through August, short and sweet. And this time I was still housekeeping, but at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, a deluxe resort. $400 a night per room on the lower end. On the higher end, $2,000 a night. Check it out on mydisneyexperience.com, which is how you book a Disney trip. Park reservations, hotels, and dining reservations, so you don't even need a travel agent for real. I completed grad school and graduated May 4th, 2012 at age 24, and was right back in Florida by May 20-something for the Fall Advantage program this time, because the summer alumni program was no longer a thing. I was placed in the park this time per my request, Disney Animal Kingdom Park, and I was a custodian also known as maintenance. I extended my program for a semester not because I particularly liked cleaning up after people, but because I was buying myself time, trying to figure out how to actually officially move to Florida and be part-time or full-time at Disney. By March of 2013, with 2 months left to go of my program, I managed to get my driver's license in Florida because I failed it 6 times here in Philly. That parallel parking. Don't have to do parallel parking on the driving test in Florida. So I got my driver's license and put down a non-refundable security deposit for an apartment which wasn't due to get ready until August. The problem was my program was over in May, and that means a 2 to 3 month period of me being back at home in Philly because I wasn't about to couch surf while waiting for my apartment to get ready. In the meantime, I would become a seasonal cast member in the same role of custodial. So my program ends May 10th, 2013. I come home to Philly because my apartment isn't ready yet, and within 4 days of me being at home, I get a call from the leasing office that my apartment is now ready. If that wasn't divine intervention, then I don't know what is. So I'm right back on a flight to Florida a week after leaving because if I didn't make it that week, they would give my apartment to the next person on the waiting list. And that waiting list was at this point 4 to 5 months long. So I had to go. So I was back in Florida, signed my lease, had no car, no furniture, and had 2 suitcases and only $1,400 in my account, and no guarantee I would get shifts because I was a seasonal cast member. I did get a roommate whose program ended a week after mine did, and she was equally looking to eventually be part-time or full-time at Disney, so it all worked out. Don't ever move out with only $1,400 if you can help it. Not having enough savings when I moved out was the source of all my woes. It was just enough to get me by, but I was barely keeping my head above water, and it didn't have to be like that. I could have stayed at home longer to build savings, but man, I was in my 20s and trying to be adventurous, and you could not tell me anything.
You can't tell me nothing.
Anyway, I eventually put in for full-time and got it as a hostess or seater at Sci-Fi Dining Theater Restaurant at Disney's Hollywood Studios. My least favorite park. Magic Kingdom is my favorite park because I'm a big kid. I also like Animal Kingdom. Let me know down below if you're watching this on YouTube what your favorite Disney park in Florida is, if you've been. I have yet to go to the one in Anaheim, California. So I did the hostessing role for a year and 10 months and then transferred again back to the resort. I was sick of working at the park. That's the beauty of working at Disney. You get fed up with one role, you can put in for a transfer to another, provided you haven't accrued lots of points for calling out too often. At this point of me transferring to my other role, my roommate had moved out. Her name wasn't on the lease and I just wanted the apartment to myself. This, in fact, is the reason I stayed in Florida at Disney longer than I intended. When I was a child, I shared a bedroom and bed with my mom. Went to boarding school, had my bed, but shared a dorm with several girls. Then I came to America, still shared a room with my mom while staying with my uncle. We moved out of my uncle's to an apartment and I finally had my own bed again, but was still sharing a room with my mom as a teenager. Imagine. Then we moved to our current house and I finally had my own room and bed, but then I left 6 months later to go to college and share a room again with a roommate. Shared a room and apartment with roommates in grad school and internships I did, including the DCP. You get my drift. I was sick of sharing my living space, so the first opportunity I got to have my own space, I took it and just wanted to bask in it, even if it caused me to struggle financially. Now I'm back to my role at Disney. The role I transferred to from being a hostess was bell services or luggage services at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, which I had done housekeeping at previously if you're following along closely. This was and still is my favorite resort. I have a whole video about this resort and the proverbs on the walls. Do check it out. So I did that role from 2015 up until July 2021 when I quit Disney. The longest I've been in a role, not just in Disney, but my entire work career. Never again stay at a job for that long. My Libra self gets bored quickly, so I need variety, and also, the best way to make more money these days is to change jobs. You stay at one job for too long, there is a cap on how many raises you get. So you're actually going to be making less over time. Also, changing jobs gives you more experience, which is valuable to employers. And you get really good at interviewing and can anticipate questions and be better prepared to answer them. I'll see about linking some articles below to support this argument because I am a journalist at heart. I like facts. I have a Master's of Science in Journalism, by the way, if I haven't already mentioned that. I also should mention that other factors that contributed to me quitting was number 1, my car was giving me so much trouble. I had been sold a lemon. The issue was resolved before I left Florida, in case you're wondering. I basically took the car to Nissan per a coworker's advice. They swapped my car for another and gave me a higher monthly payment and longer warranty than what I had with the other car. And then I crashed the car when I got to Philly, as luck will have it. Got the car fixed, thank God. Reason number 2 for me quitting is I had already moved out of my apartment in anticipation of quitting. I moved out of my apartment April 30th but didn't quit until July 10th. In that time, I stayed in an Airbnb for 2 weeks trying to figure out my life and apply to other jobs. And then a friend was so kind to let me stay with her until I figure out my shit, but she also lived 2 hours from Disney. So that's a 4-hour commute. 2 hours to drive to work and 2 hours back. I was in the gas station every day, not even kidding. Driving to work took about a half tank, and so I would top it up before driving home after work so I don't run out of gas and get stuck in the boonies in the dark. And repeat the next work day. Half my checks were going towards gas. Raggedy. Point number 3. The workload at work had increased tremendously because labor shortage. Lots of people hadn't returned to work after the furlough, and who could blame them? Them unemployment checks were more than Disney paid. Shit, I did not want to go back to work when I got called back to work because I was making more sitting at home than lifting bags at work. Also, Disney had not hired new DCP cast members yet, and we need them. In fact, the DCP kids started coming in right as I was quitting. For context, we usually got between 6 to 10 college kids every semester, and that was for my department alone. Now imagine other departments, like in the parks, for instance, they probably got like 20 kids. Magic Kingdom got the most college programs because it's busy at the Magic Kingdom and they need more help over there. Now imagine not having them at all for about a year. Now, obviously, we did not need them when Disney opened back up initially right after the furlough because we weren't that busy. But by the start of 2021, we needed them badly, but did not have them. The stress, honey, the stress. It was a lot. And I just said to myself, let me just quit now before I get fired and 8 years of service goes down the drain. And with that, this video has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a bit more about me or about Disney. Please like and share. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment a castle emoji below so I know you've watched till the end. Go do something fun and relaxing for yourself, and I'll see you later this week. Bye!